Welcome to In the Black. I'm your host, Sterling McKinley. Our podcast celebrates successful Minority entrepreneurs here in the DMV area. We share their inspiring true stories, value insights, and tips on building business that stays in the black. Today, I'm so excited. We have an amazing guest. We're speaking with Leonitha Francis. Her company, the Social Agency, is a strategic and operational consulting firm that works with small businesses and nonprofit organizations and personalities. Leonitha, welcome to In the Black.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much, Sterling.
I want to start with your origin and your passion. We mentioned that you started the social agency. So, what drew you to start that, and what do you enjoy about that work?
What drew me to start the social agency? Actually, the social agency is the second iteration of a business I created back in 2013. In 2013, I was the social concierge, and I just capitalized off of my personal assisting and executive assisting experience and how I was always complimented that I made amazing things happen.
Okay.
Things that look complex, that look like I don't think we can get it done. I just had knack for making it happen. And so I took
Okay.
that and basically created a bit of a virtual assistant business that assisted people with random tasks, whether it was digital marketing, social, understanding social media at the time, and even just event planning. So we took that and we created a social concierge in which I use all of my
Okay.
social connections and contacts and network to pretty
Right.
much build a business for me that says, whatever you get me, I can make it happen and I can make it
Okay.
amazing. So we took
Awesome.
that and we relocated down here to the DMV in
Mhm.
2015. I began to rebrand and remove my face from so much of the branding of the company and just
Right.
focus on the. And so we streamlined more to what we were doing well, which was social media and the digital marketing space, which has evolved into the digital marketing space, as well as expanding to project management now,
Right.
in which case we take on brands and help them strategize. So both require strategy.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So, where's your bio? And you said that you have a quick-witted, fiery, hilarious personality. Now, everybody says that, but everybody's not funny. So, show me, demonstrate your wittiness, your fiery personality. Give me
Well,
jokes, something.
the first thing is I don't say it. People say it about me,
Oh,
right?
people
And
say,
so
okay, okay. All right.
people say it about me that I'm pretty
Right.
fiery, I'm pretty quick witted, fast on my feet. And those are things that I
Okay.
think being
Right.
in a native of New York, you have to be quick on your feet. But
Right.
but also in business and in the line of business that I find myself in, oftentimes
Right.
providing strategies for people and solutions, you have to be quick on your feet. There are going to be some situations where the truth is very hard on taboo subjects. And so I
Mhm.
use that quick witted fieriness to be able to kind of vision cast or even put out to call out things,
Right.
address things that are ordinarily hard topics to discuss, but for the sake of me just having this out there in
Mhm.
your face personality when I'm working, it's like, hey,
Right.
that was so here's how we're gonna fix it. So just being able to tell people that I've often been likened to Olivia Pope, the in your face. You don't want to hear it, but somebody has
Right.
to tell you the
I
truth.
understand.
And I usually do it with a little bit of a joke, maybe
Mhm.
a crass one, but something that's going to get my clients' attention. And I think
Right.
that goes to me getting to know my clients on a more
Mhm.
personal level so I can know what's okay, what's not. But we all
Mhm.
know the adage that the truth is often told in jest. And so that's where the
Right.
hilarious part comes in. Like
Mhm.
some issues, certain things come up. You just have to laugh at it. We can't be
Right.
so serious. And it's when you're not focused on the solution sometimes that the solution presents itself.
Right. On your website, I saw a slogan again and again. It talked about a mind for millions. Exactly what does that mean? And how do you help companies, nonprofits, individuals increase revenue and sales?
So a mind for millions, that was something that came to me maybe about 2.5, 3 years ago. It was where I really sat with myself and said, I have a brilliant mind. I
Right.
think about things. I enjoy solving complex business
Mhm.
issues, but with how do we do it? And some people are very black and white, and some people thrive in the gray area. For me, I thrive in the gray area of what hasn't been done, what has been done and proven, or what's
Okay.
been done and didn't work. So with my mind, I take that and I say, okay, this hasn't been done, but this is also lucrative. And so
Right.
not only am I thinking through what hasn't been done and the narratives that we can create, but ultimately, what is the return on investment we can get from here? And is there revenue that we're not tapping into? I have another slogan that for those who work closely with me, we leave no money on the table. And
Right.
so, in order to leave money on the table, we have always got to be thinking, will this idea, it's a good idea, but will it be a profitable idea? So,
Mhm.
we over here at the social agency, we pride ourselves on having profitable ideas that not only lead to
Right.
just the solution of, hey, I need more followers or I need more engagement on my social media, but how do we now convert those followers and that new engagement into being clientele and customers
Right.
that's actually generate revenue for you. So that's where the Mind for Millions comes in. That a lot of our clients begin to see in that conversion.
Okay. Awesome. So not only do you have a mind for millions, but you also have different interests, different things you do. So how do you balance that, all those things together, and how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance?
Balancing that, I would absolutely say number one, group text, right? We live in an
Right.
era of group text, and I don't
Right.
take everything immediately to social media, how I'm feeling, what's going
Yes.
on,
Yes.
what I'm processing. I use a group text filter, let the girlfriends know what's going on, let the
Right.
family laugh and joke about some things to kind of help you process through. Also, give voice and audience to spaces that you haven't thought of and considered.
Right.
And then I never, because my business is digital marketing and I spend a lot of time on social media for clients, I generally don't like to use it for myself. And if I do, I don't want my
Right.
clientele to feel as though I might be subliminally posting or talking about them.
Yeah.
So I rely heavily on my group text. And
Okay.
also, I look at self care. For me, I'm big on my nails, my hair. That's a part of my confidence that helps me
Okay.
close the deal. And so, part of the ABCs of consulting is to always be closing. So you always feel good about
Right.
yourself, especially with a good pedicure. It's hard to stand on business when your feet aren't done. So,
Right. Right.
but
Okay.
with that, and I also have
Right.
developed firm working hours. That's something that
Okay.
has evolved
Yes.
over time.
Mhm.
Understanding that as a woman, we ultimately, well, some of us want to become wives and mothers. And how do
Right.
you balance that? I don't think it's a situation where once I become one that I balance it. I start to train myself
Certainly.
now.
Yeah.
And so I try to be 100% present for family events, church events, anything that does
Right.
not require business. And then I'm getting better with having a hard no. That would be
Okay.
my last, having a hard no. There are sometimes we say no, but you can still make it happen. And
Right.
that's where my amazing comes in at. But also having a hard no to say, like, we cannot.
Mhm. Right. Okay. Yeah, I love that. A few things you said. So one is being careful what you post on social media. I think that's very important. Like you said, posting about clients, and I see people talk about pricing this and things, and I think those things kind of push clients away. So I think it's important. Like you said, do not take everything to social media. There's so many times I start a post and like halfway through I say, no, I'm not posting this.
Can't do it. We
Because
can't do
yeah, well, what's the use? And how does it work? How does it go to further my efforts? And a lot of times it doesn't, so I delete it. So I love that. Also, too, work life balance. Like you said, something that you start doing now, something we all struggle with, especially now in this post COVID world, working at home. One thing I did recently, I actually sold my MacBook and I bought a desktop because I find myself working all around the house, in the bedroom, in my kids' room, dinner table, everything. And I say, you know what? I need to make it hard for me
I
to
like
work. So
that.
if I'm in my office, I'm working. But when I close that door and leave, I'm not working. So that's something I did. It seemed a little extreme, but once again, work from home, you have to set those clear boundaries. I also read you start a new venture called Tipsy, which is infused ice cream. Talk more about that and what makes your ice cream different. And once again, how does that fit into everything that you already do?
It does not fit, to be 100% honest. It was
All right.
just so Tipsy is an ice cream that is infused with artesian wine and spirits. So
Okay.
I figured out a way to make my ice cream infused with liquor,
Right.
two things that we enjoy
Right.
as a right. I take our childhood
Right.
nostalgia ice cream and I blend it with now that we're grown juice, we add some juice to it.
Okay.
So Tipsy came about. I was in a season where business was not businessing as hard as I needed it to be.
Hmm.
And so I took an assignment, a couple of temp assignments, and somewhere in between
Right.
getting paid, I was unable to pay my card note. And I was like
Mm.
freaking out.
Right.
I had an emergency credit card, paid for it. And then I said, I really would like some ice cream right now because I feel terrible. But
Right.
I was so broke. I was like, I can't even afford a scoop of ice cream, much less like a fifth of Hennessy, right? Because I'm just like, Hennessy would really help right now with everything that's going on.
Right.
So hence, I said, I go home and the next best thing is Pinterest.
Mm.
You know, I'm a digital marketer, so I
Okay.
spend my happy time on certain apps, and Pinterest
Right.
is one of my apps. So I'm there and I see this ice cream scoop with like a fake simulated Hennessy label on. I was like, oh my goodness, who did that?
Right.
I have to find out. And so I do all this research. I'm not seeing anybody with it. And I decided that once I get paid, I'm going to try this concept out. So
Mhm.
I got, with a temp agency, get paid every week, got paid. And I said, let me just sample this out. But I was so broke. I didn't even
Right.
have ice cream maker. So I had to do it like the old fashioned
Oh
hand way and
wow.
like go in and out of the freezer every
Right.
2 hours
Right.
to mix it.
Oh
But
wow.
I had the ice cream recipe
Mhm.
and I had another recipe for a colada drink that required Hennessy. And I mixed the two together and I let a girlfriend taste it. A couple friends tasted at a dinner party. It was a hit the following year. We bought ice cream machines. People started purchasing it. I was working at a
Right.
government agency at the time. We were smuggling it in. Officers would. It was just. It was a hit.
Right.
When I sold about $500 worth of ice cream in one weekend with having
Okay.
no one taste it, I knew I was on to something.
Right.
But I think the second part of your question has
Mhm.
been like, were there any challenges with it? And has there been any challenges? And it's been
Mhm.
extremely challenging. One
Right.
in particular has been finding investors, right? I think
Mm.
that are in vultures. I've gotten a lot of investor
Right.
interest. I was offered $1 million by a hip hop artist, a very popular hip hop artist, to just walk away from it and to sell it to them.
Right.
But I didn't want to have a famous Amos situation on my hands there.
Mhm.
So I countered. My counter was not accepted.
Right.
It's fine. I do want to still have some ownership in it. Some of the other things that we don't think about
Well,
is
time out. Time out. You say you have a mind for millions. You're offering $1 million. You didn't take it. So explain that.
I didn't take it because there's more than just 1 million on that,
What
right?
millions with an S? Right. Right.
Right. And so he offered me 1 million. And
Right.
and after we take taxes out of it, you're in business, after we
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
taxes
Yeah.
out of it,
Yeah.
I'm just a thousandaire at that point. And
Right.
so I really didn't. So it's a mind for millions. It's $1 million idea, absolutely.
Right.
But you're gonna pay me a couple of millions for it.
Okay.
And I'm gonna get some perpetuity off of it too.
Right.
If we're really talking about staying in the black and not going red, after one successful deal, we feel like, ooh, beating our chest and we've got it.
Right.
But how do we make that money work for us on the long term and remain in the black?
Right. Right.
So
I
some
like that pitching the show. I like that the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
I love that story. Yeah. Go ahead.
a lot of the challenges have been, one thing I didn't know was like nutritional facts label. Like
Mhm.
that's the thing. I didn't
Mhm.
understand SKU numbers and
Right.
ma- manufacturing and production. So this has been, although it was a great idea, like, at home and just doing it for dinner parties and
Right.
friends, when you start taking a trajectory from a hustle to an actual business,
Mhm.
and my first business was a service based business. I had never
Right.
done a product based business, and not only a product based business, but a food product based business where shelf life has to be my concern, and allergens to people, and insurances to make sure that no one's going to sue me because they consumed something with coconut in it and it
Right.
triggered an EpiPen
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
those are the things that I did not account for in just making this thing, but that has been some of the challenges. It's been fun learning it, don't get me wrong, but it has been a journey for sure. However, I've been
Right.
on a hiatus for about the last summer or so, just
Okay.
got to change out some, because another challenge has been finding a kitchen that we can house all of this stuff in.
Right.
We have tons of test kitchens, but not that are
Mhm.
equipped for frozen fruit products. So
Right.
with refrigerator space and the mixers that we need. So that has been, again, more challenges, but fun things to navigate as we go along the way. But for this coming summer, we're looking at making a comeback. There's been a huge demand for a comeback. So keep your eyes and ears open, especially after Memorial Day.
Okay. The name Tipsy, is there a meaning behind that or just about being
It's just about what it is.
okay?
Well, the fun part with Tipsy though, because when we originally came up with this concept, we couldn't. I said it was a government agency that I was working with. We
Right.
could not say the names of like what actually was in it, so we
Okay.
came up with very covert
Right.
names. So most of our titles, our flavors are named something that's very inconspicuous. So we have Very Grown Vanilla and Nana's Pudding and Grandma's Peach Cobbler and Jungle Fever and Bougie Blackberry. So those are things. And
Gucci
Wakanda Crunch.
Blackberry?
Yeah, Bougie Blackberry is
Oh,
one
Bougie.
that
Okay.
was a surprise hit, actually. That is a red wine. It's a sweet Shiraz
Okay.
wine with actual muddled blackberries in it.
Right. Okay. All right. Fancy. So let's go back to your once again your background. So growing up in the Bronx, that's where you take out your swagger from. Your
Absolutely. That's
street
where I earned my
hustle, all
stripes.
that stuff. So first question: how many pairs of Timbs do you own?
I no longer own any pair of Tims.
Right.
My New York card, my Metro card might get snatched for that. But yeah, I don't own any more Tims anymore. But I did have a couple of pair
A
throughout
couple.
high school.
Okay. All right. So,
You
so,
know,
so
Tims
speaking
for us
now,
are like sneakers. They're like sneakers for
right?
us. Every new
Exactly.
flavor, you got to get them.
Right. Okay. So can you share how growing up in the Bronx kind of shaped you as a person and also built that determination? And then what prompted you to move down to Baltimore and the DMV?
Absolutely. I love talking about the girl I was in the Bronx and how I just dreamed big. One thing that the Bronx did teach me, aside from diversity, I had a wide range of friends throughout elementary school. Oftentimes, people think that as an African American woman from the Bronx, that oftentimes all I had were Black friends. And that's not
Right.
actually the case. One of my best friends from second grade through like eighth grade was from Vietnam. I had another
Okay.
friend who was Cambodian. I had some Mexican friends, tons of Dominican and Puerto Rican friends. And so I can speak a fluent kind of Spanglish, not really good with the Oriental languages, but that helped me develop as my life would progress a huge cultural appreciation for those
Right.
cultures that were different from mine. So that perseverance, always understanding that they were my top friend, they were my friends because we were the top of our class. And so understanding like that competition, but that healthy competition that keeps you going. So that definitely developed a perseverance in me. But also, my mom did a great job at raising us by herself. And
Okay.
just seeing her and the other team of single mothers who were parent volunteers at our school, they did not let educational pedigree and acumen be what held them back from
Right.
ensuring that their children had the best. And so, what I remember, some of my fond memories are like neighborhood play cousins and I going with our mothers to community board meetings to make sure that we had adequate textbooks in our schools and that, equitability was there for families who had more than three children in our school, that they transitioned from us being a where would you want school to be in a uniform school because it was financially feasible for parents who just could not afford to consistently keep their children dressed in the latest and the greatest. So those things, those types of determinations of seeing women who they may not have what the checklist said to have as far as advocating for those, they use what they
Right.
had to see better and to want more for us. And so that determination for me never stopped me. It's always exposed me to
Mhm.
having having a determination to get what you want. It's not about what you have. It's about you
Right.
and what you have. Everything you have is with everything you need is within you. But it's just about
Okay.
tapping into that to getting greater. And then also my mother and that community, they covered us with other community models and pillars within that community that we could see exposure to different things. We could see possibility through that community. I was able to develop my what I call my mentor trifecta is three
Okay.
amazing African American women, three amazing sisters that have shaped me on a professional level. So where my mother gave me more grounding as far as social
Mhm.
graces and things like that, these women were able to shape me in a more professional way.
Your background is pretty diverse. So let's talk about you started off studying telecom, then pursuing computer science, now running social agency, Tipsy Ice Cream. Once again, describe the transition and how not only that, your academic, but also your professional journey.
That transition was one of just discovering myself, right? I think
Okay.
if I had it my way growing up, I absolutely thought that I was going to be a third grade teacher. I thought I was going
Okay.
to be a third. I thought I was going to get married out of high school,
Right.
do college while starting a family, and then I was going to have this amazing third grade career where students 40 years from now was still going to be remembering me.
Mhm.
That was my idea. But now at my age, at my big age, I don't think that that was realistic at all back then. But I also enjoyed watching Martin as a kid, even though I had no business watching Martin. But I wanted to do what Gina and Pam did, right? Because I saw them with Mr. Whitaker
Yep.
and they were always making
Business suit.
presentations.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was just like, I think I could do that. I want to do that.
Right.
That looks fun.
Mhm.
And so as life progressed, I always had a knack for computers, always was really good with technology. At 7 years old, I knew how to use the PC at home, but the Mac at school and how to
Right.
between the two different operating systems. My mother used to always threaten me that the federal government better not come and take her computer out of her house because I had hacked
Right.
into something. So I'd always had like a knack for computers, but as a teenager, I was the only girl on in a STEM program, and I did not know how to combat then the stigmas of being the only female in a male dominated space. I came home and I remember telling my mother, like, Mommy, the boys are really mean to me. And her best advice to me then, this is at the beginning of like the real technological era, was she was just like, well, Leah, do something else. So my something
Right.
else became public relations. And that
Okay.
was more female accepted, I guess you can say.
Right.
You saw more women in that industry.
Mhm.
But I was focusing on the entertainment aspect of it. And by the time I got to Morgan State, my freshman year, and hey, what's your major? What's your major? Everybody's a telecom major, everybody's a public relations major, and it's just
Pretty
like
much.
one thing I do well is I calculate the consequences and the risks real fast. And I was like, this is going to be an oversaturated workforce by the time I graduate.
Right.
So I started to consider, so I changed my major to computer science. And I said, but this time I'll be able to be the only girl in the room. This time I'll be able to hold my own. And I cried through it. I did. It was not
Right.
easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I had a professor who was very clear to me. She was an African American woman, and she said, "You're not going to get anywhere on your looks. I don't care how pretty you are."
Mhm.
She said, "You're not going to get anywhere on your looks. You're going to have to learn this. You're going to have to commit to it."
Right.
And so she challenged the boys in the class not to help me with anything. And so I remember just sitting in her class with tears in my eyes. But
Right.
I'm thankful that she challenged me in that way to make sure that I'm able to carve a space for myself. And so I've been able to do that. I've been
Right.
able to marry public relations and computer science and find digital marketing in that
Mhm.
intersectionality, in which place in those spaces I have to anticipate what's going to look good from a public
Right.
relations standpoint, but now how do we execute it from the digital
Right.
side?
Now, did you take any training in digital marketing, or you are self-taught?
I am self-taught. I've always been an early adopter, early evangelist
Right.
of many of the social media platforms. So I was
Mhm.
that girl that was coding other people's MySpace pages for them. I was also that girl that was lying about her age on Black Planet, coding guest books and stuff with the little sparkly people falling
Yeah.
down. So I've always been an early adopter of
Right.
these different platforms. When I was a teenager, I had a
Mhm.
Juno email, I had a AOL, like just trying all the different
Okay.
things. And not only that, but learning the parts of it. So I was like that weird inquisitive kid that would be clicking on the help buttons just to
Right.
find out how it worked. So
Mhm.
now when people say, well, how do you know that? Like, well, let me tell you how it works. And I
Mhm.
found my niche
Right.
and like teaching people that way. So I didn't get to become a third grade teacher, but I do
Right.
find myself teaching in my profession now.
Mhm. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I love that. So I read your bio, and you mentioned that you were a self-described Pentecostal girl from the Bronx. So how do your faith and your values influence, the way that you run your business?
I'm sorry, ask the last part of that question one more time.
So you describe yourself as a Pentecostal girl from the Bronx. I want to know, how does your faith and your values influence the way you run your business?
Man, listen, I'm just a Pentecostal girl from the Bronx that loves Jesus. I love to tell everybody that. But one thing it does, the Bible in the book of Deuteronomy 18, chapter 8 and the 18th verse says that I've given you the ability to create wealth. And I thrive in that ability. Like he has like, we teach that you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Hmm.
And so in that wonderful ability that he created for me way before I even
Right.
knew who I was, he created an ability in me to not only have the ability to get wealth, but to obtain it. Not to just think about it, but to have the
Right.
strategy to get to it. So how does my faith show up in my business practices? I pray about everything. My clients,
Hmm.
I don't force my religion on my clients by any stretch of the imagination,
Right.
but I pray about every strategy I take, every ideation session beforehand,
Right.
because I give me something that's new, something that's innovative, that's going to
Hmm.
create the millions for this
Right.
person that's going to take me outside of myself, outside of my sphere of exposure,
Right.
it helped me to really submerge myself in some interesting fields. Like currently I'm working with a an organization in the medical field. That was never a desire of mine, but to find ways to get excited about this client and to get this other people excited about the industry that the client is in, that has been a wonderful challenge for me, but it's also been a way for me to like stretch and grow and really
Right.
employ my faith to say, let's see what we can't see. So faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. What I do with my clients from beginning to end is I tell them, let's start with the end in mind. And then we're going to work our way backwards so that all throughout the process, the tiniest of details is what we're
Right.
focusing on. We reach those goals and those benchmarks. But that requires faith too, because we got to see and we got to dream big, something that we've never seen before.
Mhm.
And we have to employ ourselves, our ability to obtain wealth and use our hands and our minds to really move this along forward to
Mhm.
get you to the goals that you want.
Right. Okay, great. Pastor Francis, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That
Not at
word, that
all.
reminder. So along with that, having faith, of course, but also you're very optimistic. So once again, how does being optimistic help you in your business, and how does that help you overcome any challenges or setbacks that you faced?
So in my business, it is absolutely, well, let me backtrack. Let me start with my personal life, right? Because you have to see it in order for you to believe it, and then in order for you to make it believable to other people. So I could tell you all day long that, it's going to work, it's going to work. But I could probably have some internal doubts if I've never experienced it or I've never had to challenge myself in these areas as well. So personally, I have unfortunately been unhoused before, and I've had to see God be faithful to provide. I had to remain optimistic that something was going to happen. Something was going to
Right.
be on the other side of this. Not necessarily that I would end up, shaking a can and having a sign saying, help, but I had to start thinking, like seeing myself in other places. I
Right.
saw myself doing that, but I also had to see myself on the direct opposite of the spectrum. In doing that, I've been able to say, okay, this is the end goal. These are
Right.
going to be the details and the steps that I take to get to that. So
Okay.
fast forward to in my business, this is why I prefer to work with my clients from the backwards with the end game in mind. And then we work backwards. And so we can be as I tell my clients, dream big. If you I mean, nothing, no holds barred. Let's think about what you're going to do. How many followers do you want to obtain? What is the number that you want to reach? What is the growth number? What are the key performance indicators? We do that, and when we start with that in mind, that it's so much easier to figure out the pain points that we're going to need to address on the way there, and how do we reach those goals and
Right.
benchmarks. And I just think that that helps with being optimistic, because when you have a plan, the only way to eat an elephant is piece by piece. And so even with living here in Baltimore, many people will say, like, why Baltimore? Why Baltimore? But why not Baltimore? I think since coming
Right.
back to Baltimore after college, I've been able to see a different side of Baltimore, with more possibility, more potential. Instead,
Right.
to see possibility instead of the poverty. I choose to see, I choose to see generational wealth instead of seeing the gentrification. Because if we actually go after the properties and obtain that, that could be the properties that we're utilizing to
Right.
benefit off of, to benefit off of gentrification in our favor that way. And just instead of seeing abandonment of so many properties, I see
Mhm.
ability, and I see an ability for us to change a lot around here. So
Right.
it's not so much, the optimism comes in not so much in what you don't have, but seeing what you can do and then going after
Right.
it.
Okay. Awesome. So finally, what are your long-term goals? I know things happen. You have different passions, but what are your long-term goals? Where do you see the social agency going? And Tipsy ice cream. I know you turned down $1 million, but what are the long-term goals for those things?
Long term goals, honestly, my long term life goal is to write philanthropic checks into brunch, right? And in order to do that, you have to have some sort of sustainable income that allows you to write these checks. And so, my long term goals for the social agency will ultimately be somewhere where younger entrepreneurs or younger people can get their start. I definitely would love to be a launching pad for people's careers to even go greater and further than mine has. I just want to build it sustainable so that I'm able to sustain a family and create generational wealth off of that as well. For Tipsy, Tipsy's going to be interesting because some days I want to work it
Right.
day to
Right.
day. Some days I just want to sell it and be done with it. But either way, whatever way Tipsy goes is going to be amazing and it's going to be in the black at all times. So yeah, those are my long-term business goals, long-term life goals. Love to be a wife, mother, that whole thing. Continue to be an
Right.
amazing mentor to those who I mentor. And those are just like simple goals. I just want I at the end of the day, just want to hear well done. I did something well. And I love for my name to remain in this earth even when I'm in the ground.
Right. Awesome. I love that. So tell listeners where can they find you online if they want to contact you?
Absolutely. So Leonitha.com, that is my first name. Quite sure we'll have it spelled out somewhere here. And then on social medias across platform, it's Being Leah, BeingLeah. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you all.
Great. So we're friends now. So Leah, once again, thank you
Yeah.
for being on the podcast. I mean, I loved your story, everything you shared. I went to church and everything, so I'm ready to go and tack the weekend. But once again, to our listeners, remember, be sure to tune in next week as we interview another entrepreneur here in the DMV area. And as always, I'm going to leave you with a closing quote when I did. Remember, in today's competitive business landscape, your business must embrace bold and innovative strategies to sustain profitability and stay in the black.